Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of the September lineup here on the Wandering Quill YouTube channel. I am your host, Gabriel Garcia, otherwise known as the Wandering Quill and the Wandering Scribe, and today joining me is a guest making her official debut here on the channel. She is a seasoned wordsmith, high school English teacher, and adjunct professor passionate about crafting fantastical tales. With over 15 years of writing experience and a master's degree in English and creative writing, my guest delves into creating stories that whisk readers away into imaginative worlds where magic thrives and heroes emerge. As a high school English teacher, my guest shares her love for storytelling, inspiring young minds to explore the wonders of literature and language. As an adjunct professor, she also mentors aspiring writers, guiding them on their creative journeys. Beyond her professional roles, my guest cherishes her role as a devoted parent of three wonderful children and celebrates 14 years marriage to her own Prince Charming. The everyday magic of family life often finds its way into her stories, adding depth to the fantastical adventures she pens. Drawn to the captivating allure of fantasy, my guest finds inspiration in folklore, the beauty of nature, and the joys of parenthood. Her writing invites readers to embark on adventures where bravery is tested, mysteries unraveled, and the human spirit triumphs. When not lost in her imaginary worlds, my guest can explore the outdoors with her family, be engrossed in a captivating fantasy novel, or nurturing ideas for her next story. Join her on a journey through the pages of her books where every chapter promises magic, adventure, and a glimpse into the extraordinary within the ordinary. So, without further ado, let's give a huge round of applause to seasoned writer and author Brittany Gossin. Brittany, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Brittany, no problem. So before we dive into your background as a writer and an author, is there anything else you'd like to share about your background? Anything that we haven't discussed or shared in the intro?
No, I got my master's degree when I was pregnant with my son back in 2017. Um, and I have been writing since I was in kindergarten and have produced tons of stories that will never see the light of day. Um, but yeah, that's it.
All right, all right. So I guess let's dive right in. So, what would you say for you was your aha moment that you realized this is something that I truly want to pursue? Because as you just mentioned before, you've been writing since kindergarten. But what was the true moment that you realized writing was your passion?
I think I've always known that writing has been my passion. I produced my first story when I was quite young. And then I wrote again when I was in middle school. And then I wrote another story in high school. And then I wrote another story when I was 20. And then I pursued my master's. And then finally, I decided last November in 2023 that this was going to be the novel that I actually published because it had always been my dream to publish for as long as I can remember. I
Mm.
just had sat down to truly finish it. So I used NaNoWriMo as my motivation.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so I started Dreamwalker for NaNoWriMo, but I never had the intention of writing 50,000 words in a month. I just know myself, and I know that that is not something that I would have been capable of, strictly because of time.
Right.
But I knew that if I started it, I was going to finish it no matter how long it took me, and I was done writing it by January.
Wow. And as a little teaser for our viewers and guests, what is the story of Dreamwalker?
So, Dreamwalker is about a girl named Ella Windsor who is 17 at the start of the story, and she travels to the astral realm to defeat the Nightmare King, who is trying to take over the dream world and all of the waking worlds in existence.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice. I like it. I like it. And honestly, that's probably one of the most original stories I think I've had shared on the show. There's been very few stories that like delve into the dream world. So I'm really, really excited. And not gonna lie, when you said Dreamwalker, for some reason my mind went to the Freddy Krueger series. I don't know why. That's because Halloween is around the corner, but
That's normal though. And actually, very much like Freddy Krueger, there are some nightmares that come into the waking world. And one of the key occurrences that happens to Ella is she wakes up with a wound that she received in her nightmare.
ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is just like a,
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street, but that is
Yep.
very, very fascinating. So let's actually explore that aspect of your life when you began crafting and deciding to publish Dreamwalker. So, as you mentioned, you wrote Dreamwalker for NaNoWriMo,
Mhm.
and as you just said, you didn't have the intention to publish at first, but when you made the decision to publish, to go to that step, what were your goals going forward with the story, and what sort of desires did you want to satisfy for your prospective readers?
So I wanted Dreamwalker to be accessible. I didn't want it to be high fantasy. I wanted it to be basically introductory fantasy. So
Ah,
people
okay.
who, fantasy isn't necessarily their genre, but they're looking to get into fantasy, they would feel comfortable reading Dreamwalker. I took a lot of inspiration from Harry Potter because
Okay.
I wanted Dreamwalker to feel timeless in the sense that no matter how old you are, you can read it and enjoy it.
Nice. That's actually very, very true. And I also like how you said that Dreamwalker is like an introduction to fantasy, because I definitely feel, as authors and readers, we're always given books saying, oh, you should like this. This is a great introduction to this genre. But when you read it, it's so complex that it either A, bores you, or
Yeah.
B, gets you so confused that you don't understand what's going on in the story. So I like how you said that Dreamwalker is an introduction into fantasy. Now, I haven't had much experience with NaNoWriMo. I don't know if they have reviews for people who read it, other people for NaNoWriMo. So when you told your family and friends and other authors that you've met with over the years, what was their initial reaction to Dreamwalker, or you expressing to them, hey, I'm going to publish this story?
Everybody that's close to me that I told figured it was a matter of time because I've been talking about wanting to publish for so long. No one was surprised. They were excited for me.
Nice.
And most of them saying, I knew you were going to do it. I knew you were going to do it eventually. So it just so happened that I was able to do it. And yeah, everybody was very supportive, which was great. And even one of my best friends, she was an alpha reader, and I would write a chapter and send her the chapter as soon as I was done writing it. So she would
Awesome.
get it immediately, which was great for me because then it kept me motivated. And, she'd say, hey, you haven't written this in a while. I need to know what happens. Give me the next chapter. So I'm like, okay, I guess, yes, I need to write it. So honestly, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have finished it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you have any beta readers or ARC readers for Dreamwalker?
I had 5 beta readers, and then I sent out like 560 ARC copies.
Wow, that okay. You may take the cake as probably the author saying like how many arcs on the show. Like that is
It
crazy.
really was amazing. I think I got about 850 applications. Yeah, and then we went through and vetted people, making sure to see that they are in fact real people, that they there's an indicator that they like the genre. Um and then I think the total that I sent was about 565, and I think about 450 people opened it.
Holy mackerel. I
Yeah.
just started ARC readers for my third book, and I of course did like a small group because I wanted to make sure these actually people would actually did it, and they did. So now I know ARC readers are very, very helpful. But
Yes.
Holy mackerel,
Well,
400.
yeah, well, you figure, when you send out a batch, you're only going to get about 10% of those people are going to actually review. So
Right.
the more arcs you send out, the better the odds are that they'll leave reviews. And right now I think I have like 350 reviews on Goodreads. And I think I have like 100 and something, like maybe 112 on Amazon. So I'm very lucky that people expressed so much interest and that I was able to come away with those.
Well, now I know what I have to do for my fourth book.
Yeah.
But that's actually really good. I'm actually glad you got all that uh, feedback from your ARC readers. Now, would you say that the response from your ARC readers has, in a way, validated your goals that you set out in the beginning, as you said that you wanted Dreamwalker to be an introduction into the fantasy genre?
Yeah, I would. Yes, I would say that. I mean, a majority of the reviews that I've gotten, at least like the positive reviews that I've gotten, have all said exactly that, which I was grateful for because that's what I was aiming towards. So it's definitely felt good to know that what I had set out to achieve that I accomplished.
Nice. And now we turn over to one of a few personal and heavy hitter questions. So here's the first one. Now, Brittany, as I'm sure you would definitely agree, being an author is not an easy process. I
No.
shared this question with a lot of other guests,
Yeah.
and they all say the same thing. It's not a get rich quick scheme.
No.
It's hours and hours, if not years,
Yeah.
just conceptualizing the idea and then drafting it to the page. And that's just the first draft. Then you have
Yes.
to find a cover artist. You have to find an editor whose style matches your own and has a good rapport. Finding a
Yes.
cover artist, finding the right platform to promote your book. And if you want to go independent publishing, which one's going to be the best? Barnes and Noble, Amazon,
It can be
etc.
very overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when you finally bring the book to fruition and share it, there is that level of anxiety, a little bit of stress, because this is a passion project. And of course, your baby. This is something that you brought into the world and sharing it with everyone. And then that fear of, is it going to be received well? Are people going to enjoy
Right.
it?
Yeah,
And
because
then
I mean, when
also,
you write, you're sharing a piece of yourself. You're
mhm,
putting a piece of yourself on the paper for people to critique. So,
mhm.
so it is very nerve-wracking.
Definitely. And also, part of the biggest thing is this sense of like imposter syndrome, where there's that voice in the back of your head saying, no one's going to enjoy this. Oh, you're trying to be like so and so, or this story reads like this. No one's going to really enjoy it. So, for you, Brittany, what has disciplined you to be the best writer you can be, and also make the decision and commitment to bring Dreamwalker to life?
Um, so honestly, if it wasn't for my friend who I was giving my chapters to, she really helped me stay dedicated because I'm always okay with letting myself down, but I'm not okay with letting down other people.
Ah,
So
okay.
so having her, and even when I wrote Unbound, I had alpha readers who were reading it as I was writing it. And I would let them know, hey, I added a chapter. Hey, I added a chapter. And I've actually been doing the same thing with Dream Chaser, which is Dreamwalker number 2, um,
Mm.
which is helpful because then they're like, hey, you haven't written in a while. Where's the next stuff? So that other people keep me motivated. And so that's been really invaluable,
I
honestly.
definitely agree. I remember when I was getting my third book published, everyone was commenting saying, when's the next book coming out? When's the next
Yeah.
book coming out? And they were referring to my other series. It's like,
Right.
that's still on the back burner. I'm working on
Yeah.
this one, but it is really, really nice. And I definitely agree with what you said. Like, it's one thing to, if I want to take a step back and like take like, okay, I'm going to move away from this story. I'm going to take a breather and I'm going to push it aside for another
Yeah.
project. But when you have people that are invested in the
Right.
story and they really want to read it, then it's
Yes.
like, okay, now I got to go back to the
Yeah.
computer and
Yep.
spend hours and hours of writing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. 100%. So yeah, and then I decided to self-publish because I'm very impatient. And my goal was to publish a book. So I didn't care if it was traditionally published. I didn't care if it was self-published. I just wanted it out there, and I wanted to be a published author. I wanted to see my book on my bookshelf, you know, maybe see it on somebody else's bookshelf. So, I mean, I didn't write, I didn't publish to make money, because that's not what you do. You know what I mean?
Right.
But my impatience, because I did query. I think I sent out like 25 queries, which isn't all that much considering some people send out hundreds, but I did send out 25, maybe 25, 30, and I got a lot of rejections, but I had already planned to self-publish. I was already in the making moves to self-publish, but I figured, hey, let me just try to query, and then if something comes about it, then that's great, and if it doesn't, I have this plan anyway. Then I found my agent. So I do have an agent, and we are hoping to put Unbound on submission. So my original goal for Unbound was for it to be published in February, but if we put it on submission, that might end up getting pushed back. So, so that's another